Welcome to another inspiring episode of the Dubik podcast. I am your host, Sheetal Choksi, and today we are going to discuss the edtech sector, an industry that's fundamentally altering the delivery and consumption of knowledge. But today the conversation comes with a twist. Just a couple of years ago in 2021, I'm sure all of you remember this, India was heralded as the potential edtech capital of the world. However, the landscape has since shifted with a noticeable downturn and diminishing optimism amongst investors and edtech companies alike. We're joined by the co founder and CEO of a company that's crucial in providing the technological backbone for educational institutions, not just in India, but also globally. I would like to welcome our guest, A.R. Swami. And before we dive into this conversation with Swami, I thought here's a quick introduction for those of you who don't know him. Swami has completed his MS from Wayne University, US, and started his career in the US working for General Motors. He returned to India and joined iSoft to build a robust healthcare solution for the NHS in the UK. Along with some of his colleagues from iSoft, he started Camu in 2014. In the past decade, he has played a crucial role in early stage implementations of Camu, as well as making sure that it goes to 4 new countries outside of India. Swami is an engineer by qualification, a product manager by instinct, and he is a passionate storyteller, which I'm sure you will discover as we have this conversation with him. Swami is responsible for operations and strategic initiatives. He connects with academicians instantly on pedagogy and student success. His in depth understanding of the domain helps him and Camu offer customized solutions to their customers. At a personal level, he is extremely passionate about farming. For the past few years, he has evolved a partnership with local farmers in a village to cultivate paddy and aided in converting over 1,000 acres of barren lands to paddy fields. Swami, I want to know how this was done. He keeps himself fit, irrespective of the country he operates from. He never forgets to carry a pair of shoes for a run. And he believes that everyone, including students, must focus on paying attention to health and building a healthy lifestyle. Swami, between education, studying, um, fitness, and creating paddy fields, what an exciting life. Welcome. Welcome to the Do Big podcast. I am so looking forward to this conversation with you.
Thank you, Sheetal. I look forward to this conversation and very happy to be here.
Before I jump into the edtech part of things, what's the connection between paddy fields, running, and education?
I think it's just in the blood. It's always been passionate about farms, and I've always liked to watch nature and always observe, and I like to be in with nature. So that's just been all along. I've been like that, and did get an opportunity to do something very different in a place called Ramanathapuram, a very remote village, drought-stricken. A lot of there's hardly any rainfall there. One of the uh, regions that's flagged as like the largest drought regions, the top four or something like that. So there's no fresh water over there. So I always had. So I do have some of my own land over there. But then, what do we do with this and stuff? And we're able to create a partnership with the local farmers, and each taking different responsibilities, and obviously finding different ways of converting. There are lots of challenges. I won't go into the details of all of that. So once we're able to get a block of 100 acres of land converted, then everybody started doing that, and over 1,000 acres of land got converted from shrubs and barren land into paddy fields. And I do make a visit now and then, and it's very refreshing and uh, very fulfilling to when I visit there.
That's fantastic. I'm sure that you've also implemented technology there, but that's for another day. Uh,
Sure.
we've done another episode on agri-tech, and I'm sure our listeners would love to listen to that too. But it'd be fun to talk to you about agri and tech at some point in time in the future. But jumping into today's conversation, which is around edtech, I just want to understand what are some of the technology trends that are currently shaping the educational or the edtech industry?
Sure. So obviously, I got to start by saying artificial intelligence. It's in every field. It certainly is making a major impact on how things are going to be consumed in the future, how people will operate. Uh, artificial intel, Along with artificial intelligence, AR and VR, augmented reality and virtual reality, the content. It's a long shot, but I think there's significant investments being made by many companies, and like where AI is today, where there's a underlying platform which companies and individuals can consume to create content or create whatever they want to create. AR, VR will also be in the same stage in the near future. But what's more interesting today is the way in which the technology will aid in consumption of the content. And there are four things I would like to call out. Adaptive learning. It's happening today as we speak, and those areas we can feel the change now, right? Whereas when we talk about AI, it's interesting. When is it a lot of things are happening. It's not yet felt by it impacted the users yet, but it's rapidly happening. But adaptive learning, where traditionally we are uh, given the same students or any learner given the same content, and they study in groups, they study the same thing, and that means you've completed and achieved certain outcomes, right? There are four interesting aspects that technology is offering now in the consumption of content, which is being impacted by the learners right now. The first one is the adaptive learning, where we're typically in a model learning, teaching and learning model where we learn in groups and it's the same content offered to everyone. You study the same thing, you get the same exam questions, and you go through that. That's changing significantly, and depending upon how I perform, I take a test or I learn some content. Depending upon how I perform, the next set of content offered to me is different. The questions I'm being asked are different, and the skill level, am I at a level 4 in this particular subject, or level 5 or level 6? That's making it quite interesting, and that's really fine tuning teaching and learning to the learner. Okay, that's very interesting. That's a technology trend that I'm quite excited about, and it's certainly impacting users. Along with it comes gamification, to tell me how am I performing, right? And the boundary between organized content in one particular website versus social media is blurring, right? It's all just coming together. Soon we'll see people consuming university content from Instagram, and that those boundaries are blurring, and people just want to consume content, doesn't matter what it is. And so with that comes mobile learning and being able to do a lot more on mobile. I think these are the technology trends that I'm excited about, and I think is we come across quite often these days, and we feel it really will help the learners.
So one of the things that I'm very excited about, and everybody tells me I'm wrong, is with AI, AR, VR especially, and the metaverse is another space which everybody now says, oh, it's not happening anymore. But that's a question for you: is learning going to get into the metaverse at all, or you think that's too far out?
Yeah, it's still far out, but I think it's definitely it's going to happen. It's going to happen. That's my gut feel. There's investments go up and investments go down. But then the reason is, there are many things that need to come together. It's about the hardware. It's about the affordability of the hardware. It's not that it can be done today right now, but will my consumers invest and consume the content in that manner? And is it practical is the only question. Like how we couldn't do many things while on a mobile phone 10 years back we're able to do. Time will come. The technology is there. It's just about, is it affordable, is it practical to consume? That's what is evolving now. So I'm a believer. I believe it'll happen.
I'm so happy to hear that. Um, when you started on the journey with Camu, when you started off on the journey, what was the thought process in working with educational institutions, etc.?
Sure. So we were, by no means experts in education. I'm an engineer, and I've been in healthcare before this for 10 years. But we built a system back in between 2004 to 2014, 10 years in for the for healthcare for the NHS in the UK, where it's a one of a kind organization where We were able to build a cloud system when the word cloud did not exist, right? And the concept of a patient being able to take a digital card and be able to take a card and be able to get their digital record in any healthcare organization. We thought that's quite interesting. Why not in education? Okay, and these are education and healthcare are two very fundamental areas for any government, any country. So generally be no recession in healthcare and in education, and that's because the reason I say that is because it's so important to everyone, to every government, to every individual, to every citizen. So we thought we should be able to replicate that in the education field. So we thought we should start implement that education field, and then came SaaS, and then came mobile. Just made our lives easier. We said it's time to get started, and we built a SaaS system where any Camu is a SaaS solution where any institution, kindergarten to higher education, we're primarily a higher education company, but we do have a good K-12 solution as well. We started with that. Any institution, any country, any kind of a pedagogy, any learning and teaching and learning methodology you want to follow, you should be able to just create your account and get started. And that was the motivation. So we had the experience in different field, and as we did this, we obviously had very, very good customers, very good users who helped us also learn and understand the education domain and built what we have built today.
So you started off pre-pandemic, right? And educational institutions weren't really in the digital savviness levels that they are today. Everybody had to learn really quickly. But I just want to understand, how did Camu help institutions get onto their digital transformation journey?
So before, pre-pandemic, it was about 5 6 years. We were since 2014, right? We Earlier it was all lot of it was a choice that they had to make. It wasn't a mandate. If we need to meet somebody, we had to go to the campus to meet them. Online meetings were never probably just never thought of. If you want to do a demonstration, you got to go there and connect, find the projector, connect your computer, and go through all of those challenges, and that's how we used to present. And at that time, it was a choice. It was a investment that was considered uh, not basic, but something more advanced. That's how the mindset was. Then the pandemic came in, and everything was digital, everything was online. The user base swelled, and they already were using number of other platforms there for their day to day business. So just adopting more of Canva was it was just natural for them because of using they had to use digital for everything. So it's all just sort of just came together at that time. But having said that, after the pandemic, it instilled a level of maturity. It instilled a level of it increased the skill levels of the user community to stay digital, and we are that's the benefit that we get today. So they've gone through a change, and then they've sustained after that. They retained the learnings, and that's a very welcome change, and that's really helping us to go further.
And that's very interesting, because not only do you provide services for educational institutions, you're also working with corporates for their learning requirements, right? And their learning management systems and things like that. What have you seen as a shift over there? Because this is, creating something for an educational institution versus creating something for an organization. What are the differences and the challenges?
So for us, it's all bundled in because we have a solution that works for K to 12 corporate higher education, but we are largely influenced by higher education. The DNA is still it's higher education. But if you take, but some of the concepts are catching up. You have lots of institutions, higher education institutions now targeting what they call the ODL, online distance learning, short-term courses for the corporate learners. So the boundaries are all sort of blurring now, right? And we have many of our higher education institutions that are targeting the corporate learners, and their model's different. It's not like you have semester one, semester two. A bunch of 20 learners come in, 30 learners register. You just start a course, and it just goes on. Very flexible, academic planning. Because of the way in which we, developing this product, we did not look at a particular market or particular segment. We looked at teaching and learning in general, looked at all different kinds of teachers and learners and administration that goes around that. So we always had the flexibility in the system. So, for example, in the modern economies, the students choose what they want to study in which semester, and they will choose the pace of learning, and they will graduate when they want to. Something still unheard of in India. Our system supports both all these models, so it's quite adaptive. You can configure it how you want to configure it and be able to make it either offer 10 days courses, short term courses, 30-day courses, or a 6 months or a 4-year program. So because of the way in which we've approached the building the solution, so we're able to cater to all these segments.
And while there's agility in the system, what are the challenges that colleges and universities face when they have to adopt new technologies? And let's not, if we can focus on India for first and then get into the global space, because India has very distinct challenges, I believe, from the rest of the world.
Sure. Yeah, I was also going to pretty much focus on India. The challenge really is not in the tech. It's not at all in the tech. That's my view. It's in the adaptation, deciding what you want to do with tech. We need to be very clear in the mind. What are the policies and procedures that we have as a university? What part of it do I want in IT? Then you form that opinion, and then do you want to purchase a product? Do you want to license or subscribe to a product that will help you achieve that, or do you want to build one? The build versus buy. Then, if you go with that thought process, then it's quite clear what you want to do. You think of your policies, procedures, and what you want to automate. We call that typically requirements, software requirements, and you decide that, and then you issue that to several vendors, or you put it in some public website, and people can respond to it. Then there's clarity. The suppliers know what you want, and the providers will know what you want, and you know what they have, and then it's quite balanced, and the everything that comes after that, particularly the implementation and the life cycle that follows, is more predictable. Adaptation of this methodology, having that thought process, is the my view is the single biggest challenge. It's everyone will use an LMS, they will use a take attendance, they will do all of that. I don't think there's any problem. But instead, what's probably happening is what is still happening. Uh, People go for references. They make a few phone calls, send emails, and check. Is the system I heard? What are you using, and is it working well for you? And some people that they rely on and they trust may say yes or may say no, and the decisions are made on that. This has been typically the way in which the engagement is happening. I feel that's the biggest challenge, both for us and for the institutions. Then once you subscribe to the solution, then you try to fit into the scheme of things. You want to change it, and there's all kinds of challenges we face after that. The tech itself, I don't see a challenge. The process of choosing and adopting the tech, I see that's where the improvements need to be made. Having said that, higher education, particularly after COVID, has come a long way. While it's not changed, this method is not changed significantly, but people start to understand, what does it mean to change a standard software compared to 5 years back. So it's evolving, and I humbly believe we are playing a major role in how that should change. Who are we, the 500 plus institutions that we work with, and the many more that we are talking to, we are sort of recommending certain standard methodologies, deciding the policies, procedures upfront, sign it off, be clear about what you want, agree what you will implement in a software, what you won't, what you will do manually, decide all that upfront, sign it up, and then it makes it easy for everybody. And we're seeing more and more institutions seeing that as a better way to do things. And this is, we humbly believe we are creating a change here on how this engagement can happen.
That's interesting. So it's really bringing clarity to the table, which is the single biggest challenge and not really the execution.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's really that clarity and being clear about what I want to do with the tech.
Where do you think, or how do you think, uh, education institutions can ensure? So one is the whole process that you're talking about, but transitioning from traditional to digital learning, right? I understand this is more about the back end system. I'm just trying to understand what, other than the clarity and other than putting the processes in place, is there anything else that educational institutions can do to make the transition for themselves easier?
Okay, it's the mandate top down, right? Sometimes the management of institutions make those decisions that we need technology because of these 10 objectives that we want to achieve. But then there has to be a mandate to see it through, and it needs to sustain. And there need to be people who have a job just to do that, or they will be impacted if they don't make that happen. It cannot be the supplier that does everything, the software provider that does everything for the institution, for the institutions to sustain in that implementation, being totally focused. We need all our records, whether it's an attendance, learning material, all of the admissions processes, the graduations, everything has to absolutely be online. That mandate needs to come through. Otherwise, each and every user has got their own objectives, what they're busy with for the day. And because they have just procured the service and they've been doing in other ways, they've been achieving the same thing. It's quick, it's easy for them to just switch backwards. And then who prevents that? And how do you bring them forward? And maybe for one user, it's a couple of extra steps in their day to day work, but it brings a significant benefit to 1,000 other users and maybe 10,000 more students. Those users need to realize that, and they need to, and it's best done when there's a clear mandate. The objectives are explained to the end user, why you do this, why are you doing this additional two steps, and how others benefit. I think that kind of a mandate needs to be clear. If there's an aspect of your question around training, technology, and stuff, I really don't believe there is. Who is not using something, right? Whether it's a new gadget, new device, who's not using it? Just takes. I think I really don't think that's a problem. Training people on tech, on gadgets, or on tech, or on software, I really don't think it's a problem. If there's a mandate, it will happen.
And typically, how long does it take for an organization, an institution, to transition from traditional to digital? How long does a project take? Any project of yours?
Sure, when I say digital, just trying to clarify. When I say digital to traditional to digital, there are two aspects in this, right? There's the learning, teaching and learning content, and there's a lot of content available, and then there is the administrative processes, which is so critical to run the operations. For administrative process, that's our both. We have a unified SIS and LMS solution. The SIS is very core to how to Camu and how our and the institutions as well. Typically, an institution that's got really good data and have a reasonable, not the level of clarity I was talking about, but a reasonable amount of clarity on what they want to achieve. A university of a size of, say, about 10,000 students, in about 4 to 6 months, we can take them to a digital administrative process. That's possible. The way teaching and learning works, I don't think we can ever mandate that. For example, tell all the 500 professors working in a university, you must have all your content online. And I really don't think that's necessary. You could be doing workshops. You could be having students like in architecture schools crafting things, physically. Whatever is relevant and whatever makes sense needs doing. But and whenever you need to augment that with digital content, whether you're using some existing content, you're trying to reuse that, or you want to create your own, it will only happen based on the need, case to case basis. So the way in which an institution, the administrative process is quite clear. Are these 20 things now digital, and is it all done? Tick, 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 and you're done with it. It's all done and dusted. But with teaching and learning, we should measure the outcomes. I don't think we should measure how much of your content is digital, right? You can have one of your parameters could be how digital is my institution becoming, but that's not to measure the outcome, but that's to measure one of the parameters of the vision of the education institutions. But we should be measuring learning outcomes, and definitely when you measure those outcomes, one of the questions students would be how interesting, how engaging, how interesting is your prof. You will get answers to those questions, and the answers will not be favorable if you're going to be handing out things in a very traditional manner. So it will automatically evolve. So we should measure outcomes from a teaching learning perspective.
So, globally, institutions have been using tools such as yours for many, many years, right? Especially the larger ones. I'm not talking about maybe the smaller ones, but the larger institutions have been. What have been the learnings? What have been the improvements in your tools versus what is, I don't know, a global benchmark?
There's nothing like a global benchmark. We believe we have done enough to be seen by a set of institutions as something we can adopt, and we are quite grateful for that. Um, every bit of our product has been built based on the customers' inputs, the institution's inputs. Having had a good 20 years of product enterprise product development expertise, and I'm by nature a product manager, how to use domain experts to give you the necessary information to build a tech platform, or a software solution. That's our expertise. Every bit of what we've done, we've used domain experts from our customer organizations. So even the very first module that we rolled out, there's been somebody who we partnered with and said we need inputs to build this software. So users are the core, and I don't think you can do anything in the lab or in an R&D center. Yeah, you can create some technology and stuff, but Camu is a software that enables digitization of processes, teaching learning processes through the LMS and the administrative processes through the SIS. So the user is the core. Everything has been built around the users, but we don't do exactly what the user tells, and then we'll fall behind the users. So
Hmm.
we need to have a view of where we want to go, make sure the inputs are coming in from the users, and we build something that's more leading the users forward. So that's how we've approached developing our software.
And what makes Camu distinct as a product?
I'll go back to one of the comments you made. India's got some very different challenges. We've not seen a software solution. I'm sure there's some, we have not seen. There may be some that operate with a good leadership position in India for the model that works in India for the 30 million, 35 million higher education students, as well as several, tens of millions of school going children, to be able to work in this model, as well as work in a modern economy like North America, like in Australia, where the students choose what they want to study, and they're able to completely follow a different path. What we are able to do is bring the best practices across the globe to our customer base, and to many countries we're able to bring that. I think that's where we are helping in a very practical sense. I know I'm not talking about the technology here. I'm talking about the process, which I think that's end of the day. That's what the institutions are trying to achieve, but we're able to bring it through the software. So if you look at each and every country's now got, like in India, we have the NAC, we have the MBA, we have the NIRF, defining certain standards. And where are these standards coming from? These are coming from certain other global accrediting bodies. And there are bodies like the Washington Accord, which make recommendations. And all of these sort of come together in different countries, adopt these. So we're sort of doing a very similar thing in tech, so we are able to, operate. I think we are very grateful that we've been able to get customers. We have done the necessary groundwork to be able to achieve that, to have customers in different countries. So we're able to really bring the best practices to our institutions. So that's what we believe we do at the core. Of course, there are many tools and software tools and functions and features that we bring, but I think it's far outweighed by the best practices we're able to bring to the customers.
When we started this conversation, Swami, you spoke about the fact that you were amongst the first guys to talk about the cloud when the cloud was not a conversation piece. How important is cloud services for building products such as yours and for implementation of products such as yours in institutions?
Yeah, it's impossible to do anything without the cloud. It's just absolutely not possible to do anything. So the cloud gives us, earlier there used to be softwares which you install on a server. I think long gone are those days, and I don't know. In our humble opinion, we don't know of any company that's starting to build products that get installed in a local server. Everything is in the cloud, and we've been one of the early movers. And I don't think it's possible to do. And all the education institutions that we work with, even their local material, the content, everything is getting uploaded into cloud services, so that it's accessible anytime, anywhere by people who you authorize, and it's secure and it's safer. Though that could be a myth. That's a conversation for a different day. People think it's a myth. I think it's absolutely a fact. It's safer in the cloud.
Okay. And just as final thoughts to this conversation, what do you think is the future of technology in education?
Yeah, the future, like I think it goes back, relates back to your very first question. We talked about AI, AR, VR. Those are the AR. Those are the tools that are going to take become take center stage in the future. But I'd like to highlight the real impact on the learner. I feel I'm I'm quite confident, and I feel that organized learning and joint learning with a common curriculum is going to start. It is already reducing rapidly. There'll be a significant decline in that model as technology offers better ways of consuming the content. The learner will be the decision maker. The learner will decide what they want to learn, how they want to learn, when they want to learn, and from whom they want to learn, rather than I join a university and this is what I go through. That change will happen, and then I will string together everything that I know, my skills, my knowledge, and I will acquire a degree whenever I want to acquire the degree, and if I need to acquire the degree. Employment, people may look at your skills, look at what you've achieved. That could be more relevant to the employer rather than the degree certificate. And there's one more aspect to it, which I think is quite. There's a the academic bank of credits that the government is rolling out will help us actually measure that and authenticate that. What skills have acquired, what knowledge have acquired, in the form of courses, and what courses have completed. It's available to any employer, to anybody, on what credentials that a particular citizen has got, and then a lot of things will flow from there. I think that's the impact that is likely to be created in the near future.
A very out of context question, but very relevant to India is, we're very exams oriented. And currently we have all these things about paper leakages and all of that. Where do you see technology and platforms such as yours aid or, work with organizations for the examination piece at all?
I had two streams of thoughts, flow from my mind when I heard that question. One is the very traditional: can you help education institutions conduct their exams efficiently? Yes, we already are doing that. We can, proctor the exams. We can conduct the exams on the campus, completely automate end to end up to the stage. Everything from pre-exam, post-exam, during exam. All of that. We believe we are already doing that in a significant method. But what I would like to also share with you is the other thought process. Is that absolutely relevant? Are employers looking at the degree certificate to give somebody a job today? Right? What do those exams get you? The exams finally get you a degree certificate. If you just go back 2 minutes back, what I was talking about, employers are looking for skills. What did you acquire? When the learners will learn, what they want to learn, when they want to learn, how they want to learn, and from whom they want to learn. And if the employees get confidence, if the employee gets confidence from what this learner has done is relevant and it makes sense to me, that could be the tipping point.
That is really interesting because I do believe that as none of our skills are going to be relevant in the future. We'll all be upskilling and reskilling forever and ever as we grow. Very interesting point, but yeah, very. I mean, I could have a debate with you on that itself, but we leave that for another day. Thank you so much for joining me today, and having this conversation. Any last thoughts on the future of the edtech industry? I know we've seen booms and busts and VCs investing and not investing and all of that. Any final thoughts to share with our listeners?
Yeah, sure. See, we believe in the marathons, not in the short runs. Investors may come, investors may not come, and it may be bullish or bearish. But edtech is a very exciting field. What we really are very excited about is the fact that it's still in nascent stages compared to banking, insurance, and automobile and manufacturing. Still nascent stages, and it's very dynamic. It's not so process oriented like the other domains where you do 20 things and then you get output like in manufacturing. Here it's all individuals. It's human. You're dealing with human beings and you're delivering something to human beings. So it's quite exciting, and it can change and evolve dynamically, and we're building tech for that. And what's most exciting for me is almost all the interactions are with people and all kinds of people. And that's quite exciting. So very happy where we are. We're in for the marathon and we're here for the long run.
Swami, this was a fabulous conversation. I know you're traveling, and thank you so much for making the time to join us on the Dupik podcast. Yeah, it's been our pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you, Sheetal, and thank you very much for having me on this podcast. And hope whatever information is shared is useful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for tuning in to the Dupik podcast, a podcast that is dedicated to providing insights, strategies, and success stories of smart digital solutions for SMEs. We believe that behind every successful business, there's a strong foundation of reliable and secure technology, be it digital connectivity, cloud infra, cloud apps, collaboration tools, or cybersecurity solutions. In a rapidly evolving digital world where technology is key to progress, Tata Tele Business Services stands at the forefront of digital transformation of SMEs. Tata Tele Business Services, with their extensive experience and commitment to empowering businesses, understands the unique needs of SMEs. Whether it's scalable connectivity, robust communication tools, or tailored ICT solutions, Tata Tele Business Services is here to propel your business forward. Tata Tele Business Services is synonymous with innovation, reliability, and transformative solutions. So, if you're ready to take your organization to new heights of success, we encourage you to explore the transformative possibilities that Tata Tele Business Services has to offer. Our contact details are in the description below. Remember, we're available on major podcast platforms. So if you enjoyed today's conversation, subscribe to our podcast for future episodes, which we promise will be packed with equally valuable insights on questions entrepreneurs face as they digitize and scale businesses with the help of technology. Don't forget to rate and review our podcast as well as share it with peers, colleagues, and other entrepreneurs like yourself who will benefit from listening to it. Thank you for listening to us, and until the next time, keep embracing technology and may your business thrive in the digital era. Thank you for tuning in to the Dupik podcast, a podcast that is dedicated to providing insights, strategies, and success stories of smart digital solutions for SMEs. We believe that behind every successful business, there's a strong foundation of reliable and secure technology, be it digital connectivity, cloud infra, cloud apps, collaboration tools, or cybersecurity solutions. In a rapidly evolving digital world where technology is key to progress, Tata Tele Business Services stands at the forefront of digital transformation of SMEs. Tata Tele Business Services, with their extensive experience and commitment to empowering businesses, understands the unique needs of SMEs. Whether it's scalable connectivity, robust communication tools, or tailored ICT solutions, Tata Tele Business Services is here to propel your business forward. Tata Tele Business Services is synonymous with innovation, reliability, and transformative solutions. So, if you're ready to take your organization to new heights of success, we encourage you to explore the transformative possibilities that Tata Tele Business Services has to offer. Our contact details are in the description below. Remember, we're available on major podcast platforms. So if you enjoyed today's conversation, subscribe to our podcast for future episodes, which we promise will be packed with equally valuable insights on questions entrepreneurs face as they digitize and scale businesses with the help of technology. Don't forget to rate and review our podcast as well as share it with peers, colleagues, and other entrepreneurs like yourself who will benefit from listening to it. Thank you for listening to us, and until the next time, keep embracing technology and may your business thrive in the digital era.